Hi everyone, thanks very much for joining us today for our webinar Under the Bonnet of Lawyer Checker. I appreciate that you're all very busy, so thanks for taking the time out to join us. A couple of bits of housekeeping before we get started. The webinar should last around 20 minutes. In terms of recording, we'll make sure we distribute a copy of the webinar afterwards, just in case you'd like to refer back or maybe a colleague has missed it. My name's Lindsay Petzer, and I'm Key Relationship Manager here at Lawyer Checker. I'm joined today by two of my colleagues, Emily Haskey, our Operations Manager, and Sophie Swanborough, our Training and Onboarding Manager. I'm also really pleased to be joined by one of our clients, Lauren Blake, who is Head of Ethics and Compliance for Lightfoot Solicitors. Welcome, everybody. Okay, so I'll quickly go through the agenda before we get started. So first, I'm going to be speaking to Emily, our Operations Manager, and Emily is going to be explaining what is Lawyer Checker and how it benefits our clients. She's also going to be explaining how the Lawyer Checker service works and also our experience. We're then going to pass things over to Sophie, who's our Training and Onboarding Manager, and Sophie is going to explain how we assist implementation for our clients. We'll then pass things over to Lauren, so Lauren Blake from Lightfoot Solicitors, and she's going to explain her experience. So she's going to be discussing her experience on incorporating Lawyer Checker and how it's benefited her firm. And then finally, we're going to round up today's talking points and next steps. Okay, so let's kick things off with our Operations Manager, Emily. So Emily, for the benefit of our viewers who don't know a lot about Lawyer Checker, can you explain what Lawyer Checker does for conveyances and ultimately what we're trying to achieve?
Yeah, so the Lawyer Checker product was designed to fill the gap in risk mitigation for the transmission of conveyancing funds. So the creation of the product stemmed from the hundreds of thousands of pounds that is lost to conveyancing fraud each year. And Lawyer Checker is used in 1 in 4 conveyancing transactions. So in 2021, 91% of scam alerts were related to impersonating a real firm, and this is where Lawyer Checker comes in. So we provide you with enhanced risk management when transferring funds by verifying the law firm and evidencing whether the law firm you wish to transfer funds to has a successful track record within conveyancing.
Can you explain how Lawyer Checker works?
Yes, so Lawyer Checker has built a database of historical conveyancing transactions that allow you to check the account and entity to which you are sending the funds to. When the user wants to carry out the check, they can log into our website or via their case management system if they're integrated and perform the search by inputting the firm name, postcode, regulatory number, account number and sort code. Our algorithm will then check the historical evidence of these account details to determine whether the details searched are unknown to the database, infrequent, or frequently searched, and send the initial result to the user as well. If the search is unknown or infrequent, our dedicated research team will then carry out additional checks on that firm and produce a report within 4 working hours. However, we are just we're currently returning these reports in just over an hour. A second search is also included in the price, and you can do this by selecting Perform Update on the search, and this will then be returned in less than 2 working hours.
And then just to add on, as best practice in relation to the 2 searches, as best practice, we recommend that the initial search is done as early on in the transaction as you possibly can. And this is ultimately to make sure that, one, your fee earners aren't wasting time on something that potentially could be fraudulent, but also if there are any risk indicators that are highlighted, you're able to investigate these risks as you're working through the particular matter. if you were to conduct, the lawyer checker check later on in the transaction, so say, for example, just before completion, there could be a chance that if you see that risk indicator and you do need to investigate it, that it could ultimately delay completion. So just to recap, the initial check as early on in the transaction as you possibly can. And then when you're ready to, the morning of completion, you can log back on and refresh the search. So everything gets run through the system again, just to ensure that nothing's changed from when you originally did the check. So now, Emily, just to kind of find out a little bit more about, your team, and your experience from working at Lawyer Checker, and how do you ensure that everybody's searches are accurate every single time?
There are currently 7 members in the team, and in-depth training is carried out with each team member to ensure that they're highly skilled in carrying out these research reports. A member of the team will carry out the initial research on that law firm, and once this is being completed, another senior member of the team will carry out secondary checks just to ensure the information on that report is accurate before it's sent back to the client.
And in your time with the business, you've worked at Lawyer Checker for a number of years now. How do you feel that Lawyer Checker has improved its service over the years?
During my time here, we've made a lot of enhancements to the AES product. So one of these is the company checks that we now carry out. This will report on whether a company is going into liquidation or has dissolved, and we can notify law firms of this before they transfer the funds. We've also implemented a NatWest check as well, and this just ensures that the account name submitted matches the firm's bank name, so we can notify firms of any discrepancies with the name, with their bank name, and then with the SRA and CLC as well.
And then just finally, you've worked in the risk mitigation industry for a number of years now. So what would you say are the 3 key points a conveyancer needs to consider before sending funds to a third party firm?
The first one would be to not take email communication at face value. It is so easy for fraudsters to create an email with a single letter that's different and provide you with their bank details. I'd also say that ensure that you have independently checked the account details of the law firm you wish to send the funds to. And lastly, we highly recommend a blanket policy when using this service. So we've had feedback from firms that say they know the firm very well, so they don't need to carry out their due diligence on this. However, there was a case study that a firm who did know the other side very well carried out the due diligence and found out that a week prior to completion, there had been an intervention and that firm had closed. So we do provide information like that in real time as well.
That's great. Okay, so now we're going to be hearing from Sophie, our training and onboarding manager. So Sophie works with firms who are looking to implement Lawyer Checker, and she supports them throughout the process, and then on an ongoing basis as well. So Sophie, over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. So yeah, I started off at the company doing the searches and carrying out the searches within the operations team. So I've experience of, I suppose, both sides of the coin, in the fact that I work very closely with firms, but I also know how the reports are collated and what sources are used. So that really helps with the aspect of implementation. So once you've decided that you wish to use the product, there is a big element of wanting to make sure this is implemented throughout your firm, that everybody is adopting this new process that you've put into place, and that they understand why this process has been put into place. So bridging the gap between sales and support, I essentially will go through the report training with you. So I'll go through and speak to the team and explain the benefits of the report and any highlighted risks associated with that. So part of that is looking at knowing the history of the firm, so the footprint and what's carried out on the report within the information. It's looking at the scam alerts and information that's carried out with those, so any notices on there in the training, I'll go through and explain what those notices could mean and how to highlight those as potential risk, and essentially go through with the firm highlighting any areas of the report that will be of interest. So as particularly in an unknown and infrequent, you get the further research. That is really important to review that further research in its entirety. And I explain in the training essentially how that information helps a risk-based decision. And it's all about having the risk information, but also having that evidence due diligence, which is probably one of the biggest features of using this service, is that you have evidence to show that you've carried out these checks. So once I've gone through the stage of adding users, we then go through the training, which can be live or training videos that we can supply. We'll then go through implementation of checking with the firm who's using these reports, who's actually putting the searches through to make sure it's implemented firm-wide, because we all know when it comes to implementing a new process, that can take its time and there could be a couple of hurdles in terms of usage. And those are really to help you implement it and get it into that process really embedded into your policy. The whole system is designed to be a really simple system to use. So in terms of usage, it's going to be quick and easy to submit the searches. But on the other side, being able to understand the reports and being able to get that information from it and decide on a risk-based decision what to do, that's the next step to actually being able to utilize these reports fully. And then the last stage, I suppose, is ongoing training. So you'll have new people coming into your firm. You'll have people who are wanting to have a bit more of an update on what we've changed. So as Emily mentioned, we have changed Credit Safe. We've got NatWest Checker. We also check Cyber Essentials if they've got an accreditation or not. These things are really important in making a risk-based decision when transferring funds. These are people's life savings and they're a huge amount of money being transferred. So really, we're just, as the process is going on, we're adapting to the new age of changes and new threats to this particular transaction. As we know, conveyancing is a high risk value.
Thanks, Soph. So you've heard from our team. So let's hear from one of our clients. So Lauren, what led you to work with Lawyer Checker?
So it was really clear from the start, actually, that Lawyer Checker are proactive and transparent about how they operate. This particular account entity screen service is really comprehensive. It gives us the comfort we need in order to proceed with our naturally higher risk transactions. At the time we were looking for a product like this, Lawyer Checker was the only one we were aware of that has a research team behind it, returning really comprehensive reports. The setup in particular was really simple. The ease of use for our conveyancers and the significant risk the account entity screen mitigates made it a no-brainer for us, really. And I do want to point out that Lawyer Checker for numerous products for us has always volunteered information we need to know, including guides for our clients, which has meant that there's minimal need for us to raise queries and has led a really smooth sort of change transition for when onboarding any new sort of Lawyer Checker products in our firm. It's been really, really useful.
Brilliant. And what is your firm's policy, when it comes to the Lawyer Checker search and how it should be conducted?
So using the Lawyer Checker search, essentially independent verification of conveyancers' client account details before we send large sums of money. So on a completion of a property purchase, it's a critical fraud control which protects our individual clients, as well as we act for lenders, numerous lenders, and it protects ourselves as well from fraudsters posing as conveyancers. It's increasingly important now with the pandemic and the increase of cyber fraud and cyber risks, etc. For SRA regulated firms like ourselves, and we're also accredited by the Law Society Quality Scheme, and we have professional indemnity insurance cover, which is very significant, and we act for multiple lenders. These all have their own strict requirements in this respect too, in particular the CQS protocol and their insurers. and our lenders actually require multiple client account verification methods before sending completion funds to seller solicitors, and in certain other contexts, in order to give us the safety and the anti-fraud measures that we need to complete a purchase. We have robust verification measures in place across the firm, but for certain conveyancing transactions flagged as higher risk, that does require greater scrutiny. So Lawyer Checker really helps us with those. And this includes, in particular, our bridging work, as there are higher volumes, rapid turnaround times, and often very large sums of client money. So utilising the account entity screen provided by Lawyer Checker is really imperative for these transactions for all law firms, really, not just for Lightfoot. And it provides, as I say, an additional layer of verification and comfort that we need to safely proceed to completion.
Okay, no, that's great. And how does your firm tell clients about your proactive risk mitigation policy?
So this is a good point, because I think we could do more here. We definitely have natural opportunities to inform our lender clients when we join their panels, but we're going to include this anti-fraud measure in our firm's code of ethics, which is due to be published on our website, so that all of our clients know how we protect their money and the main principles of working at Lightfoot.
So we've heard from Sophie, who's discussed how she supports firms when onboarding with Lawyer Checker, and I'm just curious to know how was your firm's experience when onboarding, and how did this translate across to every fee earner that conducts a search?
So as I've mentioned, the setup was really smooth. The service is really easy to use, as it's very obvious, it's very comprehensive. So we were, as soon as we were able to implement it, and we initiated the training, it was really quick to get going with this. The fee earners conduct searches still with ease, and they refer any red flags to us, so any unknown or infrequent results.
Yeah.
And when I say to us, that's my department, the Ethics and Compliance Department. We review and approve those very quickly. And to add to that, my department find the reports really easy to follow, and because they are so comprehensive, it enables us to promptly revert to the fee earner with an informed decision.
Okay, that's great. And then, we've spoken to Emily about, the operations team and how they support firms as well. Have you had any experience with the support team? How has it been for you if you have?
So they are easily accessible and they really prompt to respond. Honestly, we've rarely had the need to contact Lawyer Checker regarding the account entity screen, because it's so easy to use, and I can't actually recall any service outages or any technical issues. And even with, I meant to mention before, even with our sort of new starters, getting them up to speed with using Lawyer Checker, they haven't had any issues either. So really, we haven't had the need to engage the support team. But on the occasion that we have, they're very, very quick and responsive.
That's really great to hear. Well done, Sophie and Emily. Pat on the back. Okay, great. So I just really wanted to kind of summarize some of the key kind of benefits of using Lawyer Checker. We've been going for 11 years, so we've got 11 years of independent fraud prevention success. We do have a historic track record of fund transfer verification. We're independent and not affiliated to any membership panel, so the information is completely independent. And as Emily mentioned, it is a manual process as well with our operations team. We're recognised both by the SRA and the CLC as a valuable tool when conducting enhanced due diligence on a third-party firm. And you do get the 2 searches that are included within the price. So we really recommend that you utilise both of them. And finally, we are robustly market tested. Back in October 2020, we completed our millionth search. And I think we're on around about 1.3 million searches to date. So I do, again, really want to thank you for your time today. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Our contact details are on the screen now. If you need any support, if you want to talk about the service in more detail, or if you'd like to speak to Lauren in more detail about her experience, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to get in contact. I just want to say again, take care, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your week. And thanks for joining.